Well, hello and welcome along to Business Spotlight. And today I've got with me Mick Goodwin, Michael Goodwin, the owner of Loyal I.T Solutions based in Gosford on the Central Coast of New South Wales. Welcome, Mick. Fantastic to have you along.
Yeah, thanks, Marcus. It's good to be here.
Always wonderful to talk to you. So for the people viewing, can you just give us an overview of what Loyal I.T does, please?
Sure. So Loyal I.T, you know how some businesses can struggle with their technology? Well, that's what we do. We help them out with their IT, data.
Yeah,
that's what we
do. So looking after all their computer needs, their cloud stuff, all of those technical things, whether it's
backup,
a cable
security,
or a red cable. Yeah, okay. Routers, security. So that's a huge thing nowadays, of course, security. Yeah, and this year I know has marked a major milestone for the business as well.
Yeah, so 1st of November, we have clocked up 20 years in business. So
fantastic.
Yeah, it's sort of, it's been an interesting time. It's taken me back to the start and I've reflected on sort of what's happened over the last 20 years. But yeah, it's a big milestone. We've celebrated it and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, congratulations, Mick, and as you should be. We know the various statistics out there, but very few businesses make it to being around for 20 years. So congratulations out there. So who's the main market that you serve?
Yeah, so we are based on the Central Coast of New South Wales. So we're really targeting the small to medium business market geographically where we are. So we market on the Central Coast. We travel as far north as Newcastle and as far south as Sydney, but really concentrate our efforts on the Central Coast. Yeah,
so a mixture of, so that's about an hour and a half north and an hour and a half south, say something like that, and remote work as well, logging into computers, looking after them, making sure they're working all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've got a couple of staff, a few of us go on site and see clients face to face, and then I've got 3 or 4 hidden out the back that just purely do remote work.
Yeah, okay. And is there, in creating the business, in how the business drives forward at the moment, do you have a specific mission or purpose for the business?
I mean, we developed a mission statement right at the start 20 years ago, which still is you know, what we aim to do. Yeah. And that's, you know, we aim to, wait, let me get this right. So our mission is to understand our clients' business and provide them the solutions required for them to achieve their goals.
Yeah, that's excellent. So it's more than just let me give you a computer. There's a bigger outcome for them there. That's fantastic. And what do you think makes you stand out from the crowd, Loyal I.T stand out from the crowd?
Yeah, I think we're a sort of a values-driven business. So we've got these rules by which we do business. And obviously, being in the IT space, there's got to be that trust. So I think I'd like to think that what sets us out from our competitors is that we sort of preach that we you know, that we do business in an ethical way, and I believe that, you know, with our reputation in our local community, that we achieve that as well. We've got a good amount of trust and respect in our local community.
Yeah, and you talked about the rules and the values. So I know you've developed a code of honour. That's what we're talking about here at the moment. So can you just explain that to us a little bit?
Yeah, so Code of Honour, you helped us develop that, Marcus, at one of our conferences, and that was probably about 6 or 7 years into the business. So it's been around for 13 or 14 years. But it's just a list of words, seven words, and they're the rules by which we do business. So we have things like loyalty, balance, team, integrity. So just values that will, we publish them on our website. I hold my team accountable to them every week. They've got to, at our team meeting, they've got to give an example of how they've delivered those values in their day-to-day work.
Yeah, so it's not just some nice words that have written on a piece of paper and shoved in a folder. You actually, if we use the phrase living it, it's important to you in the business that happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, you live those values in the community as well, don't you?
Yeah. And actually community is one of them as well. We acknowledge that we're supported by a community, and we feel a responsibility to give back to that community. So I allow staff some time to do something within the local community as a way of sort of just donating some time, their talents, back for the better good.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, you do some charity events as well, the team take part in. You acknowledge the local Indigenous community within the business as well. Yeah, that's awesome, Mick. Fantastic. I mean, I think that really comes through in your business as well. So it's been a tough few years around the world, obviously. Is there, what's come out of that for you? Has there been some learnings from that, some changes in the business?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, during COVID and lockdown, we were really nervous about that, as was, the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I remember when the government announced, JobKeeper, and, you had to prove that you had a downturn of 30% on the previous year and you would qualify for it. And I remember we sat down and ran our numbers, and we didn't qualify for JobKeeper. And I remember starting to feel, I remember feeling really anxious about that, because obviously, that's a safety blanket. It sort of guarantees, it bankrolls your business. And when we didn't qualify, I felt anxious about that. But then I sort of thought, well, hold on a sec. You're thinking about this the wrong way. We should be celebrating that we haven't qualified for it. And from that moment, we sort of changed our thinking around it and just kept ploughing forward. And so with our client mix, we have clients in the hospitality space who just switched off during that time.
Yes.
But we also have clients in the medical space, the health space, that ramped up. So it all sort of came out in the wash, and our figures year on year, we've just had sort of steady growth the whole time. So
yeah, okay. So has it produced a change in your business?
Yeah, definitely. So we, prior to the government mandating, working from home, etc., we started doing that. We geared up for it, and we sent people home. We're working remotely for about a month before the government told us to do that. And so it sort of changed the way, it hasn't changed the way we sort of approach our work, but it just means that the way we communicate with each other, instead of just being able to stand up and yell from one end of the office to the other, we've had to really rely on things like Teams and Zoom to be able to sort of effectively communicate. And like I'm guessing most business owners, some of my staff have coped with that really well. Their productivity has gone up, being able to work from home. But then, I've had some staff that have really struggled with it, didn't really have the discipline to be able to sort of just really concentrate on their work, and really struggled. Their productivity really dropped away. So it works for some, it doesn't work for others. But, it's the situation we found ourselves in, and, trying to also understand that everyone's sort of feeling just a bit on edge and anxious about where the world's going and their job security and all that. So
yeah,
sort of
so
swings and roundabouts. You take the good ones and you put up with the ones that sort of struggle with it as well.
Yeah. So you put up with it, but have you been able to put in some strategies to combat those who are struggling a bit working at home to help them out?
Yes and no. So I've had when I called everyone back to the office after the lockdown was over, I had some staff who really pushed back against that. They didn't want to come back.
Yep.
And funnily enough, particularly one person basically refused to come back. And in the end, they ended up resigning. But all bar one of my staff, they were happy to come back and be back working, as a team under the one roof.
Yeah.
We then decided just to avoid the risk of everyone getting COVID at once. We started, I split the business up the middle of tech and admin staff, and we had week in, week out of working remotely during the winter. And come towards the end of September, I called everyone back to the office. And as it turned out, I've got 3 staff at the moment working remotely with COVID. So they had a couple of days off where they were unwell. And then, we're sort of completely geared up that people can just, work remotely.
Yeah. So it sounds like, one of the things there is that you can't just accept in business that things are always going to be the same. Whilst that's been a major challenge, there are challenges all the time or changes all the time, and you've got to be adaptable to them.
Yeah.
And you said before, you had to change your thinking from not having the reduction in revenue. You had to change your thinking. How important is the way you think in business?
Oh, yeah, it's huge. It's huge. You've got to, I don't know, and I learned this early on. I started the business with my wife, who is naturally a positive thinker, positive person, glass half full. And yeah, you can really get inside your head if you don't approach things that way. So yeah. And I've had staff in management positions here that I've had to sort of train to think that way as well. Because as I said, once you get inside your head and you start thinking about all the things that are going wrong or could go wrong, then you just end up in this a blue funk, and you'd never get anything done. So
okay. So positive thinking, look to the future all the time. Cool, that's great. Thank you. So Mick, when you look back on your years, what's the biggest success? What are you most proud of?
Yep. So I guess, this year we've been, or the last few months, we've really been celebrating the 20 years. So obviously very proud to get to that milestone. Couple of other things I've been really proud of. 2 years ago, we applied for a government grant to deliver cybersecurity education to the small to medium business market.
Yes.
Sort of the first grant that we really applied for, and we won it. So I had 2 guys that I pulled out of the business operationally, and they ran this cybersecurity connect and protect project that ran for 12 months.
Yes.
That was a huge opportunity for our business to sort of develop those cybersecurity skills, but also, just to get out, do some advertising in our local market and really push cybersecurity, and the ongoing effect of that has been very positive for the business.
Okay.
And another thing that I'm super proud of is that we are a sponsor of the Central Coast Mariners.
Yes.
So, they're a team competing in a national competition, And I still have to sort of pinch myself that, that my little business is in a position to sponsor, a team playing in a national competition. So, I mean, I'm a passionate coastie, and I love watching sport. We've got one of the best stadiums in the world. We've got a great team. We went through some dark years at the Mariners, but the last sort of 2.5 seasons we've been competing again. So
Yes.
their early days, very successful, always punched well above their weight. And we had 5 or 6 seasons where we really struggled, but now we're back under the we've got a great manager of Nick Montgomery, ex-player, passionate coastie now, even though he's English. He's got his family here. He loves the coast. He's got sort of skin in the game, and we're back as competing really, really well in the A-League. So.
Yeah, and for people that don't know, that's soccer, football, depending on where you're coming from. And of course, as we record this just after the World Cup, where Australia made the 16, and a few Mariners present in that as well.
3 players. So they were the most represented A-League club in the Socceroos. So
yeah, we're about to lose one.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's right. And most, some fans get disappointed by that. I celebrate it. This is a young. He was the youngest Socceroo, but yeah, just this young guy that came to us. What a success story,
Yeah. So I mean, another great example of being part of the community, not simply a business providing some service for some money out there. So that's fantastic. Thanks, Mick. So what advice would you give to another business owner, either starting out or current business owner? Is there something in particular that you think, here's what they need to know, or here's a lesson that I've learned that they need to take note of?
Yeah. Well, I guess one of the biggest lessons for me is that it's just, you'll never master a small business. There's always so much to learn. So yeah, never assume that you know it. You've just got to always be looking for opportunity to learn and grow. But I think one of the biggest things for me, and once again, I'll credit this to my good wife, Jules, is that early on, she was a prolific networker, networking with other businesses. So you sort of, because you've got a lot in common with other business owners.
Yep.
You don't have to be doing the same thing in the same industry. There's so many lessons to learn from each other.
Yes.
But surrounding yourself with people that you can trust. So making sure you've got a good accountant. And one of the things we did early on, which I attribute a lot of our success to, is having a business coach. And I think having that accountability to someone else just helps you get things done. So
yeah, awesome. And networking's where I first met Julie.
Yeah, exactly.
In a room down in Gosford, one breakfast, this lady, dark-haired lady, walked in, and there you go. Here we are all these years later. Yeah, thanks, Mick. Anything you would have done differently?
The answer to that is no. Like I continue to make mistakes, but you just have to own them and learn from them, reflect on them. So yeah, one of the things that we're talking about, what sets us apart from our competitors, is just owning it. So the industry we're in, generally people are contacting us when things aren't going right. So yeah, we're just sometimes seeing people at their worst, but we just have to help them and guide them, and sometimes what we put in place doesn't work. Once again, we just have to own that and just keep pushing forward. And one of our guarantees is that we will find a solution, and we guarantee that we will find a solution.
Yeah. And you think that's backed up by the culture then? you know, because that becomes part of the culture, doesn't it, as well?
Absolutely. And
and awesome.
My staff, when I interview them and when they're inducted, they're very clear about that. You know, that you know, we have above and below the line. You know, they have to exist above the line, where they're not looking at excuses and blame, that they're looking at ownership and responsibility. So
yeah. Okay. All right. Just take a couple more quick ones. What motivates you?
Ooh, I'm motivated really by my family, you know. Yeah. So in being a business owner, for me, when I started it, it was never about, you know, meeting a financial goal. It was always a lifestyle thing for me. So running my own business, it allowed me to be a lot more present to my young family. They were all 2 in primary school, kindergarten, first grade, and 1 that was starting school the next year when we started the business. So it has allowed me to stay present to them, watching them grow up. And now they're all grown men. My baby's 24 years old. But yeah, there's no regrets there. I've been able to spend time with them and be present, go to sports carnivals, swimming carnivals, you know, helping out in classroom.
And now you've got another joy to be able to use that time with.
Yeah. Little granddaughter. So after raising 3 sons, my middle son, Thomas, him and his partner, Crystal, had a little baby girl, Delilah, who was just, that's, you don't get to choose when you become a grandparent, but you get told, and I wasn't ready for it, but embraced it, and was not ready for the amount of joy that little girl brings to our whole family.
Yeah, absolute joy. That's what I say. Mick, love the kids, but the grandchildren now are the joy of my life.
Yeah,
that's great. All right, Mick, well, thanks so much for passing on those words of wisdom. I do have one. Is there a favourite quote or idea that you'd put out there to people? Ending quote or idea?
Yeah, geez. I should have done my homework on this one.
What pops into your mind as an idea for people to bear in mind in business or life?
Yeah, I don't know. I just see it as a journey. You know, it's not always going to go your way. So you just sort of got to roll with it. You know, so some staff turn out really well and some don't. But it's all just sort of, you know, part of the journey. The difficult ones make you treasure the good ones more. And yeah, so I'll just say, you know, like if you're not enjoying what you're doing, you'll come to a realization at some point that you really need to, because you only get one life, one crack at it. So enjoy what you do, or you're in trouble.
Well, I think that's a great note to finish on. Enjoy what you do. Really great note. So thank you, Mick, again for coming on and being part of this interview, giving your ideas out there to the community, another way you're serving the community. I really appreciate it, and all the best for the future of yourself, Jules, the kids, grandkids, and Loyal IT. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Marcus.